Hello everyone, welcome back to some League of Legends DFS Esports breakdown for February the, I guess 10th, 11th, whatever. Game starting a little bit early today, so that's something to keep in mind as they do this time of week. We will quickly get into the recap and try to go through everything we have to go through today. We have a 5-gamer, so not a lot to break down. LPL was not too interesting. RA versus AL ended up going to 3. AL actually looked like humans in game number 2, so they did get the victory. But they are just still so bad. It's almost unreal how bad they are. I think they're legitimately on pace to be looking at tying or breaking WE's winless record, I think, this year. TES got the pretty easy 2-0 over Ultra Prime, but although I will say Ultra Prime did actually look like okay in the early games. They just kind of got outclassed eventually. The bets we had here was RA minus 1.5. It was something I wasn't very confident in either way. It was something I did kind of see coming, that maybe they weren't as consistent as they should be. So we did get the loss there. Over in the LCK, we did have 2 bets. One of them won, another one lost. So we did go, as far as betting goes, 1 and 2. No underdogs won, so it wasn't an ideal day really by any means. Hanwha Life they got the series in 3. We did have the over 2.5 there, so that one cashed, but LSB did not get the 2-0 over DRX like I had anticipated. So yep, 1 and 3 on the bets. DFS did not go that great. Hopefully we have a little bit more of an interesting day ahead of us. We have 5 games to choose from. Maybe we can pick something out. It just occurred to me I did not bring up the lineups. LPL lineups. Let's get them. I don't think there should be any changes, but there should be, double checking that stuff. TT LGD, the first one up. This one's going to be pretty interesting. I'm a little bit intrigued to see the odds on this one. Honestly, I think these teams are very close. I'm pretty interested to see, just kind of where the odds will end on this. That's kind of going to be where my decision lies. I don't have a particular lean either direction. My initial lean, honestly, is to look more towards the LGD side. I think their schedule's been pretty soft, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I do expect TT to be the favorite. I do think they are deservedly going to be so. Just when you look that they actually have been winning games at least. They haven't been particularly looking great in them by any means, but they've at least been winning. They beat Ultra Prime. They beat IG, who's actually pretty decent. They did lose to WE and LNG, but that was, maybe kind of a slow start, perhaps. It just kind of depends on how big the favorite is, that type of thing. LGD, their only win is over AL, so that's pretty uninspiring. Both these teams are pretty bad. I would probably have TT as like a minus 175 or so. Like, I think this is actually pretty one-sided, a little bit surprisingly so. The next one up is IG versus FPX. This is actually going to be like a really fun series for both of these teams. I think these teams, in terms of skill, are actually pretty close. I think in terms of like where they are in the league, they're actually very close as well. I'm very interested to see the line here as well. I'm going to be interested to see where these teams are valued. I think IG has come down to earth a little bit as of late. Obviously, the only series that they lost is this TT one. They're still 4-1. They didn't look too great against LGD, coming off of a series where they lost. So it's kind of 2 like lackluster series in a row from IG. So that's kind of the problem there. FPX, obviously, they got swept up by Weibo, not a big deal. They lost to BLG as well, not a big deal. They did get the win over Ultra Prime, and then obviously they lost to WE to start the year. So, kind of tough sledding for them, as far as 2 of their 4 games have been against the 2 elite teams. but they haven't particularly looked great either on either the other series. But I don't want to put too much stock into that first series against WE. That's literally the first series of the year. Again, pre-break matches. Also, I don't put a ton of stock in either. I feel like the season truly starts in this like week 3 when the sledding starts for the most part. So I don't know. I do think it will be IG slightly favored, but I don't know if this number gets a little bit crazy. I could definitely see me going to the FPX side. I think this could be pretty close. Um, yeah, it's kind of just what it comes down to. I think these are actually kind of pretty close teams, and I don't think the separation there is too much. So we'll have to look at the odds on this one. And I think this is going to be a pretty similar case for the third series, JDG Weibo. I think JDG should be a slight favorite, but if the odds are too far out of hand, I'll go to the Weibo side. Not a big deal. Um, I'm just excited for these matchups, honestly. Well, mainly the second two. TTLGD I could live without, but IGFPX I think is going to be like a pretty fun game. I think JDG Weibo is going to be an exciting game between two of the top two. I think top two teams. I think this is the top two teams in the league going at it. So I'm pretty excited for this. But for the most part, I don't have any reservations on any of these other than we'll look at the lines here. I'm honestly a bit surprised. These are all pretty one-sided in the direction I gave. TT minus 260, IG minus 250, JDG minus 230. I did end up crunching some of the numbers. Again, nothing too advanced by any means. I just kind of take the combined kills per minute, the average game time, multiply them by each other, and that's how you kind of get a total average amount from both of the teams, and that's kind of get an average combined kills per game. I guess per map would be the more apt term. As you can see, there's clear kind of outliers here. NS and KDF over in the LCK are pretty slow. Both of the LCK ones are pretty slow. We have some clear cut direction here. I think IGFPX is looking pretty incredible. Both these teams play at an incredible pace. Their average game time is up there as well. JDG Weibo, both are playing at a pretty solid game time, or at a solid pace, but their game time is a little bit low. That's probably because most of their series are relatively one-sided. So I'm going to be interested to see where the totals there are on those. Let's look at JDG Weibo's total, because I think this could be pretty interesting. Those are it's the over under, so it's at like 26 or so, 20, maybe 25 and a half, 20. No, it's probably more like 25, because you could go under 24 and a half at close money and 20 over 25. So it's like around 25. That's about where like the numbers lie in the average game time. Honestly, I know people don't love to hear this, but I don't know. I don't love the numbers on these over unders. I feel like they're juiced so crazily. I honestly would be like a little bit more inclined to play an under. I feel like sometimes the numbers can be a little bit deceiving when you do look at these top tier teams. I think they're going to be a little bit more tentative and not as crazy aggressive when you're looking at playing against the other good teams. I think that's a big difference. So I don't love anything there. Honestly, I'm kind of a little bit perplexed on where to go from here, just because I don't necessarily agree with like most of these prices. I really don't. I don't think TT should be that big of a favorite against like anyone. They're not that consistent themselves. I think that game could definitely be going 3. But you're only getting like plus 110 there, and LGD is not a team you want to bet on to like win a game. So I don't particularly love that series. IGFPX, and it's kind of a similar story there. Like over 2.5 is only plus 110. Like you're not really getting much there either. Like I would like a little bit better of a price on that. Honestly, I think that series you could definitely look at and go to the FPX side. That's probably the direction I'm going to be headed. I don't know. I think IG's getting a little bit too steamed up as of late. Again, I'm definitely part of that. Like they looked pretty solid in these first few games, but they looked They haven't been looking crazy. I think in skill wise, I think both these teams are actually pretty close, and I'm honestly surprised. I think when you look at these teams in the grand scheme of the league, I think they're about in the same place, and one of them is a big favorite. I truly don't agree with that. I'm gonna be going with the FPX side. I think they probably win it in 3 though, but I think that's definitely fine from a DFS standpoint. Obviously, I'm expecting a lot of kills here. I don't know. This one is tough. I feel like you can make a case for pretty much like every underdog here. Although the only one I'm not feeling honestly is LGD. I'm probably going to be going to the TT side in that either way. But again, I don't love the like -1.5 there either. I feel like that could definitely be going 3. I think I'm definitely leaning towards the FPX side in the second series. As far as JDG Weibo goes, I don't know. That one definitely feels a little bit odd to me as well. I think over 2.5 in that JDG Weibo series. Again, you're not getting a good number on like +105, but I think that should definitely be going 3. I mean, I'm probably gonna be taking. I don't know. I'm probably gonna be going to the Weibo side in this one as well, just because I think this is a battle between the number 1 and the 2 team, and I don't think we've seen a big gap in terms of like these two teams, to be honest. Like, they're both very solid. Obviously, Weibo have not really played too much yet. They lost to, or they lost to BLG. I think the thing that we've seen from Weibo is they've at least played like solid teams. Like, they played BLG and TES so far, and then obviously they stomped over on FPX. JDG, they've kind of just, I mean, they did beat BLG. That's definitely something that's positive, but like outside of that, they haven't played too much, and that was obviously pre-break as well. Like, I don't love putting stock into that. And as far as, I just think JDG getting a little bit too much steam here. I personally just don't agree with that. I think this is a pretty close series. I'm going to be going with Weibo. But again, I think a little bit safer of an approach would probably just be the over 2.5 there at plus money. I think that seems pretty likely in my opinion. I think these are two pretty solid teams. I think it's going to be going to 3 most likely, so I think that's a direction that you can go for betting wise. I think DFS, I like FPX, I like Weibo, I like maybe pairing them up with TT. Maybe there's something over in the LCK that we could go with, but that's the direction I like to go. But again, you know, over in the LCK, we don't really have much, I think, to build off of here. NS KDF, I think from a betting standpoint, I actually do like the KDF -1.5. I know that's maybe seems a little bit silly or a tad bit aggressive, but I'm still kind of buying into this LCK team here of KDF. I think they've been coming into their own a good bit. I think they're pretty solid despite their 1-6 match record. Like, obviously their last 2 series, mainly their last 3 series, they got to game 3 against LSB, to game 3 against Damwon, and they 2-0'd KT, obviously. I think those are pretty tough matchups, and they actually put up like respectable scores. I think Nongshim are clearly outclassed by pretty much everyone. They have a blip on the radar of getting a game off of T1. And of course they have a series over DRX here as well, but I feel like record-wise, it's a bit deceiving between these two teams. I think these teams are not that close. So that's the approach I want to take to this one. I think KDF -1.5 at +185, or maybe a slightly better number out there, would be the direction I would go. I feel like that's a little bit more in the realm of possibilities. I think, again, Nongshim are still just a little bit outclassed as far as the roster that they're putting out in the LCK. I think KDF, again, are coming into their own, but I don't know. I guess the thing is, it's just the price. +185, I think, is a good enough number where I could definitely see them getting the 2-0, or maybe, you know, what am I trying to say? Maybe KDF get the 2-1, maybe 2-0. I just think I think they should be bigger favorites in this series, and I think getting that big plus money on like a 2-0 is not the worst way. So I think that is something that will be making my betting card. As far as approaching KT Gen G, um, I don't know about this one honestly. I know that Gen G has been like doing everything they kind of need to do to be, kind of respected, in a way. Their only loss is to T1 in a 2-0 fashion. That was to start the year though. Um, since then they've obviously won everything. They 2-0 Damwon, of course. They beat LSB. Pretty solid stuff from them. I just haven't been like too impressed with them, so I don't want to continue to like take these like -1.5s or anything with them. I just don't love the numbers that they're getting typically. I feel like they're a tad bit overrated, and I don't want to buy into them. But at the same time, the KT Rolster team on the other side has not been particularly interesting either. So I don't really want a part of this series really at all. Again, when we look at it from a DFS standpoint, I think there's a case to be made where you could look into the Gen G side a little bit. Maybe if you do want to secure a favorite to pair up with like the underdogs of FPX and Weibo. I think that's a thing you could look at as well. I definitely think that's pretty solid. I think we do see a good bit of LCK mini stacks being a good option. They obviously get the sweeps a little bit more often. Their kill shares are typically a little bit more condensed, that type of thing. I think although the total numbers are usually a little bit lower, I think you can see them come through in other aspects, like that sweep bonus, like those condensed numbers, on their players. So I think Gen G is definitely fine as a secondary stack. I don't really want to get too Nongshim or KDF when it comes to any of the stacks or DFS early. I think they're going to be completely left off there. I think, I don't know, it's going to be tough to fit all of them in. I think FPX, Weibo, maybe TT, maybe Gen G is probably going to be the way I'm going. Again, I kind of like the underdog in all three LCK series, to be honest. Like, my official pick is going to be like TT, probably 2-1. I think FPX in 3, Weibo in 3. I just think, especially the IGFPX series and the JDG Weibo series, I just think those are close. I think you could probably approach them from over 2.5. That's probably a little bit of a better approach to the series. But, either way, I don't know. It's kind of tough sledding, especially from a DFS standpoint. There's not a favorite that you love to pair these underdogs with, and that's kind of what sucks about it. But again, if you wanted to go TT, maybe they do get that 2-0. If you want to go Gen G, they probably get that 2-0. I think both of those directions are fine. We'll quickly run through the players. I actually did kind of end up updating this stat here. So if we did want to go Thunder Talk, that'd be FPX, Weibo Gaming, Gen G, and we'll probably just leave it there. I'm probably not even going to throw KDF into this. We'll look at the players. So we did get all 4 teams in there. Kill participation, as we could see, the groupings is typically what I try to look into, see where the groups of teams are who group up more. FPX is pretty strong. We do have Lele, LWX, I guess Hoye would be there. He's not actually there, of course, would be Hacker. So he's actually down here a little bit more, but I mean, it's still very strong numbers. So it still would be Lele, LWX, Care, and Hacker. As we could see with TT, obviously Shin Liu is not playing. It would be Yao, of course. As far as the rest goes, I think Gen G is actually looking like very, relatively solid. Are these 2023 spring? There's no way that Gen G have played this much, right? Oh, I have this 2022. Whoops. That would be the problem. Good thing I noticed that. There we go. This makes a little bit more sense. So it's still about the same. Delight and Pays are actually there. Gen G, the rest of them are pretty low. Peanut, Chovy in the 60s, Doran 57. For the most part, it seems like everyone is pretty fine except for the Shy at 48% participation. That's pretty tragic. But again, the grouping there, I think of Lele, LWX, Care, and maybe Hacker. I think maybe you could leave off Hacker and go with Xiao Lao Hu instead. He's actually pretty close to Hacker's numbers, and obviously getting that a decent top laner in there makes a little bit more sense. And leaving that jungle position open for somebody else could make a little bit more sense as well. Again, Pei is in delight. That Genji bottom lane has been pretty solid for number wise. Light Karsa, looks like Xiaohu and the Shy are pretty low, but Light Karsa and Crisp seem to be pretty solid. That trio there. TT is actually in a pretty solid spot. Although Huanfeng is pretty low. I don't love that because you typically, of course, want to get a double AD carry captain in. But Beishuan, Yukao, Yao Yao, maybe you could do double mids, something like that. I think like an FPX TT double mid would be make a little bit more sense because we do see Care's numbers are actually pretty solid, and of course we do see Yukao's numbers are very solid as well. And I think both of those players do have the potential. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for me. I think we kind of touched on everything, and yeah, I think that's gonna be it for me. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I will see you guys all again tomorrow for another slate of games.